Already great name. An amazing name. We already like this here. Let's get it done. So this is a reaction to my reaction of his reaction of my reaction to Mark Kern's reaction of Classic WoW. So that, just so everybody understands what's going on and everybody's on the same page here, this is exactly what's going to happen. So let's go ahead. We're going to watch the video while everybody heads back over. That's all really we're doing. We're just waiting for people to come back over and we'll be fine. Okay, yeah, that's what it is. Okay, 1 second, and I will be ready in 1 second. Then we'll go ahead and open it up, and we'll be good. Okay.
Yo guys, Punker with another video. So if you're aware of what happened yesterday, I uploaded a rebuttal to Asmongold's view on 1.13. He ended up reacting to the video on his stream with, I'd say, maybe a little bit of a confrontational tone from himself in the chat. You know, it's all good. It's all well and fine. I have no issue with it. The video that I made was kind of spur of the moment.
That's why you brought it up.
It was 5 o'clock in the morning, and I just decided to quickly record something. Very little editing involved, and then just upload.
He's probably going to backtrack on some of his points, which is why he's qualifying his initial statement with different rationalities for why he said what he said in the first video.
I can admit that it was unorganized, probably not my best work, and I just want to make a follow-up video to clarify some of my positions and explain in a better manner exactly where I'm coming from. At the end of the day, I feel like Asmongold agreed with a lot of the points that I made, but for some reason, there seemed to be just some high level of, you know, animosity, confrontation from the chat, which I guess I'm to blame for at the end of the day. I mean,
that's not your fault, dude. Like, they do that with everybody. Like, they hate you, they hate me, they hate fucking everybody. That's not your fault.
There's the thumbnail, for example, but honestly, the thumbnail was just kind of like a little fun joke. I think this video was presented to Asmon potentially as a hate video, which couldn't be further from the truth. I think I could have taken maybe less of an antagonizing, you know, tone in certain portions of the video, and it would have allowed me to get my point across in a better...
What the fuck are you talking about? Like, what the fuck? Like, well then, why are you saying that I'm, like, anointing myself as the king of classic and, like, all of this other stuff? Like, you've said multiple things that were, like, negative towards me as an individual in the first video, and then you want to say that it's not about that. Like, I can go and open up the video right now and play the different parts if I can find them. But no, that's you literally were saying negative shit about me. Like, just fucking own it. Like, if that's the way you feel, just own it and say it.
Way, which could have led to maybe not being brigaded by the Asmon fans with dislikes and opening the door to discussion in a lot better way. But either way, it's okay. Asmongold, you said the intention of my video was to call you a piece of shit, but that couldn't be further from the truth. I don't have any issues with you as an individual. The grievance I was mentioning was more about the power that you yield. And I think the dislike brigade on my video is maybe proof of that to at least a certain extent. You have an army behind you that goes to battle for your viewpoints, which I think can potentially affect the narrative within the WoW community. My video was not akin to...
Okay, so that is partially true. That it's partially true. That yes, obviously, if a lot of people are watching me, then they will agree with me, right? Yes, okay, that does make sense. That being said, like, my community thinks that I think dazing is stupid and it should get taken out of the game. Most people in my community are like, oh no, that's not true because I'm an elite player, right? I think they should do the Nax 40 thing once a year. Most people think that's a bad idea too. My community does not necessarily agree with me on all issues. There are a lot of issues that they don't agree with me on. Obviously, in general, like, yes, there is going to be a confirmation bias that people who regularly consume my content generally trend towards agreeing with my opinions, but that's not necessarily a guarantee.
Some of the hate forum posts, you know, people make against you, but I kind of feel as though maybe that's how it was perceived. Anyways, let's just go over some of the things that I said in my unorganized ramblings yesterday that I didn't necessarily express to the best of my ability.
Okay.
The first one was the notion of TBC release being equated to power creep. So for this one, I said it was a point of almost hypocrisy. So not exactly hypocrisy, but just kind of along those lines. And I mentioned that it's not related to the max level meta, which I think was glossed over yesterday in the reaction. But it's still a power creep nonetheless. It's not necessarily the strongest argument, and I knew that going in, but I think in a holistic sense of the game, it still kind of applies. But honestly, the more important aspect of that is obviously how the level cap increase nukes all of the old content in the game. The
Yes,
hypocrisy
that
portion
is
was
very
more
true.
of a semantic point. Now later on, when I said that there was an
And that's probably my biggest criticism of Burning Crusade, which, I mean, it looks like he and I share that opinion. My biggest criticism of BC is that it removed all the 60 content from the game and from being relevant. I don't know how they could have made it relevant. I don't know. But I didn't like how it just removed the entire 60 in game. Same shirt? Well, yeah, I mean, it was only from a few days ago. Of course I'm wearing the same shirt. Like, what do you mean? Like, why is that? Oh, okay. Now, everybody in this stream, now they think they're better than me because they shower. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's not that big of a deal. You have a girlfriend? Yeah, and you know what? Last time that I came over, and she asked me, how long have you been wearing that shirt? And I said, I don't know. And she said 3 days, because she'd been counting by watching the stream and see what I was wearing. And then I had to get a new shirt, which is why I have this shirt on. Yeah, no, trust me. Like, I'm probably going to go over there later on today. I'm going to have to change my shirt before I go over there because she's going to be fucking pissed if I'm wearing this again. Like, do you think you stink? No, she actually said I smell good. I swear to God. Like, I'm not even lying. She literally said that I smell good. Like, I mean, not whipped. I mean, look, man. Yeah, no, she really did. She's like, man, you smell good. I was confused.
Insightful point. I wasn't referring to myself or the point that I made, but rather the point that Mark Kern made in the video that we were watching as being insightful. Again, I didn't express that in the best possible way. I could have done better, but it was kind of frustrating to watch and see how it was perceived and see you call me out on that. And I think I'm partially to blame again for rambling without focus. I also saw a lot of people saying I had misinterpreted his point in general on 1.13, and I don't think that's entirely true because he has mentioned things like power creep, and he did so in the reaction video before actually unpausing the video and me mentioning power creep. But I definitely could have, had a more solid approach and.
Can somebody screenshot this? Like, this is really good. I mean, this is really, really good. I'm impressed right now. This is only the beginning too. Yeah, 3 Asmongolds. Honestly, I'm surprised I'm not wearing the same shirt in this clip right here.
Solid approach and had a better understanding of where he was coming from. But at the end of the day, my main issue was how dead set his perspective seemed, and how the optics were as such that he wasn't taking the idea of Classic or 1.13 seriously, and how that mixed in with his grasp over the community as a whole and how he could shape the future of what happens in the game. Now, in respect to the comment that I made about him being the self-anointed king of Classic.
Okay. The reason that whenever I feel like something is not going to happen, I just write it off. And I don't want to think about it or talk about it because I feel like it would be a waste of time. I don't think that it's realistic for Blizzard to want to do 1.13 content instead of Burning Crusade. I don't think it's realistic. So, and I feel pretty strongly about that because it just makes sense, right? Like, as I said, think about how many Spider-Man movies they've made, how many Iron Man movies they've made. Do you really think just because they're going to make another Iron Man movie? Let me tell you that they're going to do it. It doesn't matter what makes sense; they're going to do it anyway. Because that's what makes money. That's what matters.
I know Asmongold didn't literally claim to be the king, and that's not what I meant. It was maybe hyperbole. But he kind of is the king of the WoW community, and I just had a grievance with his voice taking precedent or creating influence that could possibly harm the game in the future. TBC will end up, in my opinion, fragmenting the old school community. I've seen it happen.
That's your opinion, though. So, like, my opinion is I think TBC will help the game in this way. His opinion is he thinks that 1.13 will help the game in this way. His rebuttal to my opinion is that TBC will hurt the game. My rebuttal to his opinion is that 1.13 has the potential to hurt the game, and I don't want to open that door.
happens so many times on private servers. TBC is theoretically one of the best expansions. You would think that it would be super popular, but from my experience, there doesn't seem to be nearly as much demand for TBC over Wrath of the Lich King or Vanilla. This is the point that I was making when I said I understand where things stand, at least from my experience.
But how do you judge? Like, for one, okay, yes, he's right. I think most people want vanilla. You're right, yes. If you had to vote with everybody, there are a lot more people that want vanilla than want TBC. I think so. I think you can basically say more people want Vanilla WoW than Burning Crusade. I would probably bet money on that. But then also, how many people want 1.13 content? Right? I think there are more people that want Burning Crusade than want 1.13 content. So if you want to use a democratic argument, then I feel like Burning Crusade is going to be the winner, obviously. We already did a poll. We did a poll about this before. Like, his original video was even, it even showed the poll. Because right now, people are going to vote differently. So because, like, we're watching a video on it, so people might take a certain perspective because of the conversation at hand. But we already did a poll about this when it was completely, it wasn't like an argument or anything. I just asked you guys, and TBC won out.
It's playing these expansions. Theoretically, TBC should be highly sought after, but I've never seen it play out that way. TBC servers are beyond dead. What I think is going to happen if we go down that route is we're going to end up fragmenting the community, and the game's just going to end up withering away, and people are going to start losing interest as the expansions and patches progress. Like, in TBC, people get super hyped during the Gruul and tier 5 element,
Yep.
but then once tier 6 and Sunwell comes, I've always seen it just sort of steadily decline. And another thing is that if we go down this path, by the time we get to Wrath of the Lich King, we're exactly, in my opinion, where, as the Classic community, we don't want to be. The entire point of Classic was we want to avoid Dungeon Finder. We want to avoid sitting in Dalaran all day hitting a button.
Good.
Now, you keep saying it's the safe decision to make, and that's what bothers me. That's kind of the point that I was trying to make in my video, that you didn't give 1.13 enough credit as a possibility. You seem to disregard.
You don't give 1.13 enough credit as a possibility to ruin Classic. Like, I mean, it could completely ruin Classic. I mean, I don't understand how. Like, I don't even know what to say. Is that no? TBC ruins Classic. No, TBC does not ruin Classic. More people wanted TBC than this 1.13 content. I think that there should be more of an understanding. He's right. No, he's not. Like, 1.1C but maintain a Classic server. Yeah, exactly. Like, it just seems like an obvious decision to do 1.1, or sorry, to do Burning Crusade. And I think this guy, he's not even calling into question the idea that maybe 1.13 could be bad for the game. And if Blizzard opens that door, opens Pandora's box of creating new content, well then, what if it's not good? Like, what if something messes Classic up a year down the line, and then nobody has the chance to experience the game in its true form anymore? I think that would be a lot worse than just adding in a Burning Crusade server for people that want it. Yeah, you're afraid? Of course I'm afraid. Yeah, I don't want to see them ruin the game that we've been waiting over half a decade for. People have wanted this for over half a decade, and now everybody's talking about changing it, and oh, well, we want this, we want that. Just bring out the game. Of course I'm afraid, because this is the one chance we get of having the original game in its original state. Once we change that, there's no going back. Yeah, I don't want to have changes to the game, at least not until Naxx has been out, and then you can assess the community and decide then. But I think Burning Crusade is clearly a safer choice.
Regarded as a concept, defaulting to Blizzard will just fuck it up. Blizzard is always trying to make the safe play, but my dream for the release of Classic, or for, you know, the war that we fought to get Classic, has always been one thing, one goal: the revival of MMOs as a genre. Going back to TBC, it's not a revival. It's just a safe money grab from Blizzard's perspective. I feel as though the inevitable success of Classic, you know, the most important thing that...
It is a safe money grab from Blizzard's perspective. It is, and that's what people want. Like, that, you're right. Like, that's exactly what people want. People want it to be a safe money grab. They want to get the exact content that they used to have, and they want to play it again. Like that, there's nothing wrong with that. It's the same as they remake Mario 2 and Mario 3 all the time. It doesn't mean that they can't make new Marios. No? Wait, well, what's the no's? What are the no's for? Listen, do you guys genuinely think that adding new content to Classic WoW is a safer and better alternative than re-releasing the expansion that was the most successful expansion of all time? I mean, how can you be that fucking dumb? This is a completely idealistic perspective, assuming that everything goes right. What happens when it doesn't? Why would you think that they can do it and make it right whenever they've failed at doing it and making it right in the game from, by your own admission, since the second expansion? It was over 10 years ago. Like, so they've been ruining the game for 10 years, but they're just going to suddenly come back and turn things around in Classic WoW. Give me a fucking break. Yeah, they're just going to, okay, you know what? We changed our mind on being dumb. We're going to actually fix everything now and be good developers and make the game the way we want. Give me a fucking break. Polling content. Yeah, we'd have Dungeon Finder if it was a poll in Wrath of the Lich King. How'd that work out? Same with probably with Raid Finder too. Like I can get, like here are some things. Like let me think. Things that would work in a poll. Probably mounts earlier would you would poll. I would say most people would vote for mounts earlier. 80%. 80% of people would probably vote for mounts at least at 30 or 35. Plate armor, I think probably at level 1 would probably be something that people would vote for as well. You guys think no, but you have to keep this in mind. Like this is the same, like this is not a representation of the WoW community. This is a representation, number one, on Twitch viewers that are watching a beta for a game that came out 15 years ago, and they're so invested in it, they're still not leaving, even though this guy that they're watching streaming has been doing SM for 5 hours. Okay? You are so fucking invested in this game, there's nothing that you want to change at all. And you are a small, minor, tiny fraction of the player base. The entire other group of the player base, all of the BFA players that are going to vote to spite Classic players, did you never think of that? Come on. All of these other things, and people that are resentful towards Classic players and will vote intentionally to disrupt the game, this will happen, okay? Like, people are just so fucking stupid and have no vision on what's going to happen. Like, I'm sorry, but it's like the Doctor Strange thing. There's 14,650,000 universes or whatever, and there's one universe where we win and everything works out. This guy's acting like that's a for sure thing. Every other instance is going to be bad. Like here, let me think. Some of the other changes. Being able to track mailboxes. What percentage of, you know what? Let's play a game. Actually, this is a really good game. I want you guys to give me the percentage of the player base. And don't troll. Just be realistic here. Give me the percentage of the player base that, if put to a vote, would vote on something happening or not happening. Mailboxes put in the game. Or sorry, excuse me. Sorry. Mailbox tracking being put in the game. 100% would vote on mailboxes in the game. 100%. So people like, there's very, very high numbers. Okay. Dungeon Finder in Wrath of the Lich King. %, 40%, 0%, really? 0%. Oh, that's crazy. 0%. Okay, let's think. Flying in Azeroth. What do you think? How many people would want flying in Azeroth? I'd say flying in Azeroth would be about like a 50-50 thing. You guys are vastly underestimating the large majority of casual players that want the game to be easier. Dual spec, that's another one. Dual spec right there. How many people would want dual spec? %100. So as you can see here, as we go through the different systems and the different things that are in the game, you'll notice that more and more the game will be eroded. And with each of these changes, here's what makes it even worse. With each of these small little changes that erode the hardcore difficulty and the true feeling of fulfillment that you get out of playing Classic WoW, 5 hardcore players leave and 5 casual players start playing. So that's how things have slowly became as casual as they are, because the hardcore players have been slowly moved out of the game by each of these little tiny incremental changes. That's what's happened. It's happened over 10 years. 100 leave and 5 casuals play? Well, sure, but it's still, I mean, like, you can use any argument, any number that you want, right? It basically shifts the game's population more in favor of casual, aka lazy players. And I really need to stop using that word casual, because it's not true at all. It's mostly lazy players and people that don't want to put in any effort. Chopper, thank you very much for 5 Get the Community subs. Thank you, thank you. And that's how we've gotten Raid Finder. Tell somebody in Burning Crusade, tell somebody in Vanilla WoW that you'd have a Dungeon Finder and they wouldn't believe you. Tell somebody in Wrath of the Lich King that we'd have a Raid Finder and they wouldn't believe you. Tell somebody in Cataclysm that gear would be randomly able to Titan Forge up to the highest difficulty or the highest raid difficulty possible, and they wouldn't believe you. Even probably in Mists of Pandaria, they wouldn't believe you. Tell somebody in Mists of Pandaria, or sorry, Warlords of Draenor, that random legendary items would just drop and they would be the best item possible and they would define your class, and you'd be decided if you could get into a raid group or not, depending on if you have them, and there's only a limited amount that you can get, so if you don't get those 4, you have to reroll your character. Tell somebody from WoD that, they wouldn't believe you either, but they'd believe all the previous things. That's because it's been a slow incremental change in towards the population of the game, and now the population is much more apathetic, much more antisocial, much more lazy, and it's just becoming more and more that way because it trends in that direction, because Blizzards are giving players what they want instead of what they need. And that's what I worry about with the polling system. That's why I think Burning Crusade's a better option. There it is.
We can get from this is Blizzard learning a lesson and going back to their roots of simplistic, organic game design. You know, it may be optimistic of me, but I'm an optimist. And I feel
going back to the roots of organic game design. That would be great.
So deeply that 1.13 is the only way to truly redeem World of Warcraft to its previous glory for the foreseeable future.
It's not going to happen. Like, the game is too dated. Like, if they want to redeem World of Warcraft and make it be like the same cultural phenomenon that it was in 2006, they have to update the game. Like, they have to update the game. Like, nobody is going to play this game. Like, that's the same thing with RuneScape. There are so many people that won't play RuneScape because of the graphics. It will never happen. Like, of course, this is all theoretically. I mean, we're all talking about opinions and ideas here. There's nobody that has an idea. Nobody has a crystal ball to decide what's going to happen. Okay, they're almost all ready for me, so I don't want to waste any more of their time. So let's go ahead and go through the video.
TBC seems to be a short-term, low-risk, easy solution. I want to make Azeroth great again for the long term, with a unified community. Not lazily re-release all the older expansions and fragment the community into 4 different versions of the game. Now, when I said if they were to expand on Classic WoW, then that would become my new favorite expansion, I didn't elaborate at all, and here's why I said that. The core game design of Classic is already set in stone. New content releases on top of that would not change the game in the same sort of way that all the Band-Aid patches throughout, the years of Warcraft's degradation have.
I mean, like, I don't know how much time this guy spent playing WoW, right? Like, in the most recent years, because he says he's played a lot of private servers and everything. I mean, they've tried doing this. Like, it's just literally every single thing that they try to do. Like, even removing Master Loot. Here's a good example. Removing Master Loot has created much more problems than... It's created much more problems than just having Master Loot in the game. So whenever Blizzard tries to solve a problem, they end up creating an even bigger problem of the same thing that they were trying to solve 90% of the time.
Still Classic. It's still the same organic, healthy MMO, except we would have potentially Hydril, the Emerald Dream, Uldum, or other content on top of that, the cherry on top. The one thing that I think Blizzard can actually do right, especially with people like Omar and other people at the helm, especially with using old school raids like Naxxramas or Black Temple or any of the tier 5 and any of the old school raids as reference, is they can release quality endgame content. I believe that they can do that successfully. That to me,
I'm not a believer. I don't just believe things. When I was 5 years old, somebody told me that Jonah lived in a fish. I didn't believe it because it didn't reinforce my entire observed life at that point. I was like, that's bullshit. There's no way he lived in a fish. Right? My entire observed reality does not reinforce that, even though I maybe think like, okay, yeah, you want this to be true. There's a million things that you want to be true, but they're just fucking not.
me, is the dream. It's what I dreamed of as a 12-year-old kid playing this game. Like when all of the leaks were happening, finding all these areas that were under development, like I thought that those were going to get released in vanilla, and that still seems to be the dream for me. TBC, I mean, while arenas are great and the endgame raids are also great, the game itself lacks what was sacred and classic. I mean, you even admitted that yourself when you were reacting to my video. Look, I'm a dreamer, an optimist, a risk taker. I mean, that's my natural instinct. I always lean towards that. So automatically,
there's different levels of risks, right? There's like buying lottery tickets, there's investing in companies, and there's like driving with your eyes closed. That's a really, really big risk, and you get no reward out of if it goes well or not. Lottery tickets, really big risk, really big reward. There are a million different ways that taking risks is not a good idea. It's not a good idea to say, I am a risk taker. That's not good. Like, you don't just, okay, I like taking risks. There's a million risks that are bad ideas. Like, it's so, I just don't know what to say. Okay.
I lean towards 1.13 because I envision a future of a glorious vanilla experience that's truly unique and new. My fear with going the same route as progressive expansion releases like we've seen on private servers or in the private server community is it'll eventually lose steam. The community will fragment and it won't lead to long-term viability. There's always going to be that core player base that'll play 1.12, 2.43, and 3.35, I mean to the death. But that doesn't necessarily revive a new dawn of Warcraft. It just milks all the old school WoW addicts to extinction. I envision a new resurgence of Warcraft that brings in the masses to conquer new challenges, unknown enemy territories, and creates new nostalgia. Call me a dreamer, but that's my perspective. I wasn't expecting Asmongold to react to my video at all, and I wasn't expecting the brigade that obviously followed that. But in a lot of ways, it was kind of needed. My last video was lazy. I've learned a lesson. I've only really been doing YouTube for a couple months now. I just started learning how to make videos. I'm still trying to figure out, where I stand in terms of making videos. And I'm learning that I need to put my best self forward on every upload. If I'm lazy with my edits, I don't write a script or outline and, just release some random low effort content when I'm super tired late at night because I saw a video, it's clearly not going to get my point across the way I want it to.
Okay.
And I'm owning that. I'll take it in stride and move forward and learn a lesson. Although I stand by my stance that I took in the video, I did an incredibly poor job expressing myself. I really believe this conversation needs to be put to the forefront of the community discussion, which was my intention of the initial video. So if that's my perspective, then I should have put more effort to bring my A game and represent my views better. I'm man enough to admit that. And I'm quite disappointed in what the video ended up leading to. My intention was to spark dialogue, but instead, it seemed to create almost like an Ice Poseidon weaponized autism effect, causing further division within the community. And again, I know you get lots of hate, Asmon, but at the end of the day, I hold no hate in my heart for you as an individual. I'm not salty about not getting into beta or anything like that. In fact, I don't even have time to play beta. It's not even a factor on my mind. Hopefully, this video clarifies things at least a little bit, and hopefully I came across a lot better. So we can bridge the gap a little bit, and hopefully more content creators will talk about this topic going forward. Because I truly believe it's the most important thing that we can talk about right now. And I don't think it's too early to talk about this either. We need to be premeditative in our approach with this. Anyways, I needed to get this off my chest because honestly, I was cringing super badly at how you know, I really felt misunderstood, or I guess how badly I misrepresented myself in my video. So hopefully this clarifies things, and hopefully more people understand my perspective a little bit better now. And to all the guys who follow my channel and supported me through this whole debacle and understood where I was coming from, you know, it's fine. I appreciate the support from you guys, but at the end of the day, I'm definitely partially to blame for what happened. And you know, how I respond to the negative feedback from Asmon's community is important. Rather than brushing it off and pretending like it didn't happen and not admitting any fault, you know, there's a lot that I could learn from this experience to become a better man and become better at making YouTube videos in general. Whether or not Asmon or any of the dissenters of this YouTube channel see this, you know, it doesn't even matter to me. I just needed to get this one off my chest. So anyways, all right, Soldiers of Classic, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Okay, first thing, let me just go ahead and move that. Guys, let's start. I really apologize for making you wait. I really am sorry for that. Let's go ahead and start doing the polls, okay?